Welcome back to the 2x72 DIY belt sander series. Last part we mainly talked about the parts I'm going to be salvaging to create this machine, but today we're going to be talking about the actual body and how I'm going to be fabricating it. Alright, so since I don't have a metal cutting bandsaw or anything, I'm just going to unbolt all this stuff from the rack, and this was the thing where you pull it up to make the rack taller or shorter, so it's got the handle on it, and then whatever this thing does. So I'm going to take all this off, then I'm going to use an angle grinder with a cutoff wheel just to cut this flat in here, and then I'm going to do the same thing with the other pieces, and I'll be right back. Here are all of the pieces I cut off. So this was the stand, or the J-cup for the rack. Here's another one, and then just these assorted brackets and such. Alright, so I cut off all of those things on the side. I made like little bit of divots in it, but I don't think this will matter because I think I'm going to put this side in it. Like, oh, that's not open, but I think I'm going to put like this part inside of this part, so I don't think those divots really matter that much. But yeah, and then I got all these off. I'm gonna have to grind it down also, but I'm pretty happy with that progress. I know it's not a lot, but this is my first metal working project, so I'm gonna be welding, angle grinding this stuff off, bolting, whatever, so it's gonna be fun. So here's pretty much how I envision this working. Obviously it's not welded or anything yet, but I envision that the table is going to be connected to this and then be able to go up and down, and then this would be the bar that the sandpaper goes on, and then these could go in and out. I don't think I'm going to be using these two because they hit each other, so like, probably can't show you, this metal is going to fall over, but they hit each other when this metal is touching, so I don't think I'm going to be able to use these, but a regular bolt's going to work just fine. But basically, if you want to adjust the length, you just unscrew it a little bit and then put either of these in and out, and then you would screw this back in, and then they can't move. So hopefully it'll work like that. Everybody on YouTube pretty much does the same thing, but since these were already here and this was already kind of set up like this from the rack, so like on the squat rack it would be positioned like this, and then you could put it higher or lower depending on whether you want to squat or bench or whatever. So I just envisioned that I would stack these like this and then just do exactly what the other YouTubers are doing and do the grinder part here, table here, and then it'd be all good. So basically, what I have to do next for this specifically is I was going to grind all of this down on the inside to flat, and then I'm going to weld between here all the way down and on the other side, and then that's how it's going to provide the stability and how it's going to be sturdy. But obviously before that I have to cut this to length, so whatever my Fusion 360 thing I made says, I'm just gonna cut it off like here or here, whatever, and then that will be that. And obviously after, the motor is going to be down here, and then the tracker is going to be over here somewhere. So that's just a little insight to what this piece is going to be doing. Alright, so I just ground these down flat. As you can see, they're nice and shiny. As well, I did this side and this side a little bit so that when I go to weld it, I can actually weld metal instead of this paint. So these are going to go on top of each other, kind of like this, and then, whoops, so I'm going to be able to, I should be able to weld inside of these. There's a little bit of a gap though, so I'm going to have to clamp it down really hard. Hopefully it'll bend. If not, I'm going to have to think of something else. So as you can see in the middle there, it's a little bit shiny. That's from when I ground it down. The next step with these is probably cutting this off and then cutting it to length, as I said before. But as far as this goes, they're nice and flat, so that's good. So now we can go on to the next step. Alright, so now we have the main body parts. This is the top one where the grinder is going to be with the two wheels. The bottom one is where the table is that comes out and in. And then this part on the side here is going to be the mount for the motor. So the motor is going to go right here. The motor's right here. I hope to have this welded up soon so that it can be the main body all together. And then I made a design change on my thing. So originally I was going to have both of them facing like out like this. So like just like this one. But I decided that's not the best idea, because if I want to tilt that sanding arm all the way this way or all the way that way, they're going to hit these nuts. So I decided to actually put it on top and on bottom. So that means I'm just going to have to paint all this and then paint this, because I already ground out this side part. But when I was cutting this to length, I grinded out the other part. So now I should be able to weld these two together, paint it, and it should look okay. And then I'm gonna have to sand this down a little bit so I can weld it. Hopefully my welder can handle it. I just have this cheap Chicago Electric 90 amp flux wire core. Hopefully that'll handle it. I know that there's a little bit of a gap in there. I'm gonna try to clamp it down as best I can before I weld it. So yeah. Alright, so I got everything sanded down. This is where I'm gonna lay the weld. Hopefully it turns out alright. Got it bolted down. On the other side of this is where I grounded off those side parts, like the squat rack J-cup, so it is gonna be connected to the ground through there. Well, that definitely did not turn out pretty, but it's welded, and I think it will be fine. I don't have a lot of experience with welding, so don't make fun of me, I guess. And also this is flux core, so it's gonna look terrible. But I'm gonna grind it down and then see how it looks. And I'm pretty sure it'll hold together with this side and the other side all welded. It might not be pretty, but I think there's enough just to keep everything together, you know. So I think it turned out just fine. You can see it did weld. I didn't grind down far enough, so but I think all this would be continuous, and then this in here is fine. But I think it looks fine. This is really hot. And then this part over here is fine. I didn't ground down enough to see all of it. But then I redid this part and it looks a little better now. So I think this should be fine. It feels pretty solid though, so. Alright, so here's the two things welded together. Put the motor mount onto. I did a little bit better of welding with that. I did it on all four sides, of course. And then, so that's in there pretty spicy still. That's in there pretty good. So essentially, it's gonna go like this. And then the motor is gonna go somewhere like this. Hopefully, I can get this flywheel thing off, and then it'll be a lot better. And then those inners right here, hopefully they still fit. Well, I might have to do a little bit of grinding. Oh, I think it fits. Okay, so it somewhat fits still. And then this bottom one will also go in if it wants to go in. Okay, so just like that. And then these will go in like that. And then this one on the other side. So it's starting to look a little bit more like what I'm trying to make. So thanks for watching this video and sticking around. Now the main body is complete. Next video we're going to have to deal with the motor and get that flywheel off so we can actually mount it onto the main body here.